For more reaction on President Obama's remarks on Egypt, let's bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Peter Cook. Let's bring him back. I also want to bring in someone who currently does a lot of business in Egypt, used to control foreign aid to the country, former Senator Bob Kasten. He runs an international consulting business, advises U.S. companies doing business in Egypt, including defense contractors, Oshkosh and General Dynamics. He's also on the board of the American University in Cairo. Bottom line, he spends a lot of time there. Perfect person to talk to. Bob, last time you talked with Peter, you were disappointed by what you'd heard from Obama, President Obama. That was on February 4th. You said he was somewhat detached. We heard from him again today. He certainly seemed engaging. Your thoughts on what the president had to say today about what's gone on in Egypt?
I think the president was much more engaged today. And if you will, I think that notwithstanding the fact that the administration seemed to be a little bit unclear about the direction and a little bit late, I think no one's late now. And the celebrations on the streets in Egypt, the celebration in Tahrir Square, speak for itself. And what's amazing, and I think it just, when you look at these pictures, when's the last time we've seen pictures of these kinds with people celebrating the way they are in an Arab country? There are no American flags being burned. There's no Uncle Sam being hung in effigy. We're all together. It's one of these moments that we're all Egyptians in a way.
Bob, let me ask you, you've done a lot of business in Egypt. You know some of the folks in the military leadership pretty well. What's your sense about what ultimately happened here? Was this the military telling President Hosni Mubarak, you've got to go?
Today was Friday, and I think everyone was concerned after the kind of false start yesterday that after prayers today, there might be some real violence. And I believe that the military quietly, along with other wise men, if you will, outside of the initial or the smaller Mubarak circle, all prevailed on President Mubarak to do the right thing. I think there probably was a little bit of a push, maybe even a lot of a push. But for that, we can be thankful, and we can also be proud of our relationship, the U.S. military relationship with the military of Egypt. But I think the military of Egypt, and particularly Field Marshal Tantawi and the people close to him, are most responsible for this transition. And I think that all of us in the free world should be thankful to them.
Bob, something I wanted to ask you, and this is playing off what the president had to say today. He talked about the military, that they now have to ensure transition that is credible in the eyes of the Egyptian people. He mentioned amending the Constitution, bringing about a free election, and the end to the emergency law. Was he sending a message to the Egyptian military, in your view? You've worked with them. What do you think?
I think clearly there's been a message sent to the Egyptian military, but I'm not sure they needed it. The Egyptian military has been responsible for the order that's been maintained at Tahrir Square, and the Egyptian military, I think, was in large part responsible for this transition and for Mubarak's decision. I think the military sided with the people of Egypt. You could argue somewhat differently about parts of the government, about the Ministry of the Interior, for example, and some of the secret police. But the military sided with the people of Egypt, and now the military is going to have to lead this transition. And I believe that they will, and I believe that it will be a successful transition that will involve all parts of Egyptian society.
Bob, when you were in the Senate, you controlled foreign aid, including aid that went to Egypt. There have been some lawmakers on the Hill threatening to cut off that aid if things didn't play out properly in Egypt. What happens now to U.S. assistance to Egypt? The president himself said we stand ready to provide aid if Egypt asks. What happens to all that?
We give Egypt about $1 billion a year of military assistance, and I believe that that will continue. There were plans to reduce the economic assistance. I think those plans are probably going to be put on hold, and I think there's a very good chance now that there's going to be an effort made to assist the Egyptian economy as they transition into a more free and democratic state. The Egyptian economy right now is about 35, almost 40% government-related. The military alone employs almost 500,000 people. So there's very, very heavy government part of this economy. And as they work to privatize, they're going to have to reduce that dependence on government employment. And that may mean that we and Western Europe might want to come and be more helpful to the Egyptian economy as it transitions into a more free economy.
Bob, just one last question here. I mean, what do you want to see next then from the Egyptian military to show that indeed the transition is going along smoothly?
Well, I think the first step is going to be to put together a team that goes beyond the military, beyond the people just around Field Marshal Tantawi. I think that team might include the 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners from Egypt, El Baroudi, who you've seen a little bit of, Ahmed Zewail, who's the other Nobel Peace Prize, who's also been in the news working there. These are 2 Egyptians that the people of Egypt love and respect. I think there probably is going to have to be some representation from the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
It will still be under the umbrella of the military.
Okay.
But now we want to look at a transition team that can be inclusive.
All right, we've got to run. Bob, thank you as always. Bob Kasten joining us, and of course our Peter Cook there in Washington.